The date is August 26, 2026. New York City. The tennis world is still buzzing from Alexandra Eala's historic run at the U.S. Open. She has defeated Iga Swiatek at Wimbledon, won her first WTA title in Washington, and climbed to a career-high number 18 in the world. But what happens next sends shockwaves through the entire sports industry. Nike, the brand that has dressed legends like Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal, and LeBron James, has just lost its biggest rising star. And the company that signed her instead? Apple, the $4.53 trillion tech giant. The deal? A staggering $1 trillion contract over 20 years, the most lucrative athlete endorsement in history. Eala, the 21-year-old Filipina sensation who once wore Nike's custom Sampaguita tributes at Wimbledon, is now the face of Apple's global sports empire. The news breaks like a thunderclap. Social media explodes. Fans are outraged. Analysts are baffled. And the question on everyone's lips is simple. What just happened? This is the story of that shocking decision. This is the story of how a 21-year-old from Quezon City walked away from the biggest brand in sports and signed with the biggest brand in tech. This is the story of how Alex Eala proved that she is not just a tennis player. She is a global phenomenon. Face screaming in fear Philippines. Alexandra Eala's relationship with Nike seemed destined for greatness. When she burst onto the scene with her fairy tale run to the Miami Open semifinals in 2025, Nike was quick to recognize her potential. They signed her as a global ambassador, and the relationship flourished. Nike didn't just treat Eala like another athlete on their roster. They celebrated her. They honored her heritage. They understood that she was not just a tennis player, but a symbol of hope for an entire nation. At Wimbledon, Nike created a custom white visor for her, etched with a Tagalog phrase that translates to, "Once it grows, it cannot be stopped." They gave her a hair tie with a white ornament shaped like the Sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines. It was a tribute to her roots, a recognition of her rising legacy. When Eala visited the Nike World Headquarters in Oregon, she was welcomed with a cavalry and fitting presence, including her own portraits in full display. The establishment featured her photos, including the iconic "History in Full Bloom" display. Nike recognized her marketing potential early on, and it seemed like the beginning of a long and prosperous relationship. They even released limited edition apparel capsules for her. The partnership was a love story, until it wasn't. By 2026, Eala had become the biggest draw in women's tennis. She had sold out stadiums in Toronto and Cincinnati. She had generated upward of 5,000 ticket sales on her own. The Eala effect was real. It was powerful, and it was about to become a problem for Nike. The brand that had celebrated her rise was about to lose her to a tech giant. But the cracks in the relationship had been forming for months. Nike had failed to capitalize on Eala's growing popularity. They had not released enough merchandise. They had not invested enough in her marketing. They had treated her like a rising star, not the global phenomenon she had become. And when Apple came calling, Eala was ready to listen. The Nike executives, who had once celebrated her rise, now had to accept that she was moving on. The brand that had dressed her for her greatest triumphs was now losing her to a tech giant. And the tennis world would never be the same. Apple had been quietly expanding its presence in sports for years. In 2024, they launched the Apple Sports app, a free platform that allows iPhone users to keep track of real-time sports scores, updates, statistics, and upcoming games. By August 2026, the app had expanded to 170 countries, including the Philippines, the US, and Canada. Apple was positioning itself as a major player in the sports world, but they needed a face. They needed an athlete who could represent their brand on the global stage. And they found that athlete in Alexandra Eala. Eala had something that no other athlete had, a massive, passionate, and rapidly growing global fan base. She had the Eala effect. She had the ability to sell out stadiums, move merchandise, and inspire millions. And she had the potential to become one of the most marketable athletes in the world. Apple saw that potential, and they were willing to pay for it. The initial offer was staggering, $1 trillion over 20 years. It was the most lucrative athlete endorsement in history. It was more than any athlete had ever earned. It was the kind of money that could change Eala's life, her family's life, and the lives of generations to come. But the offer was not just about money. It was about control. It was about ownership. It was about building a brand that would outlast any tennis career. Apple wanted Eala to be the face of their sports division. They wanted her to star in commercials, design her own line of Apple products, and build a media empire around her name. And Eala wanted that too. She had always been an ambitious person, not just in sports, but in her personal life as well. She knew that tennis was not forever, but a brand could be. She had seen the trajectory of athletes like Michael Jordan, who built a billion-dollar empire with Nike. She wanted to do the same, but on a global scale. The Apple deal would give her that opportunity, and she was ready to seize it. The negotiation between Nike and Apple was a battle of giants. Nike, the $463 billion sportswear giant, was determined to keep their rising star. They had invested millions in her development, her branding, and her career. They had celebrated her heritage, honored her roots, and built a partnership that seemed unbreakable. But Apple, the $4.53 trillion tech giant, was determined to win her over. The negotiations were intense. Nike offered Eala a $500 million contract, the most lucrative deal in tennis history. They promised to keep her as the face of their tennis division. They promised to continue celebrating her heritage. They promised to release more limited edition apparel capsules. But Eala's team was not impressed. They knew that Eala's value was not just in tennis. It was in her global appeal. It was in her ability to transcend the sport. And they knew that Apple could offer her something that Nike could not: ownership, control, and a platform that would outlast her tennis career. The Apple offer was $1 trillion over 20 years. It was more than any athlete had ever earned. It was the kind of money that could change Eala's life, her family's life, and the lives of generations to come. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about the structure. The Apple contract gave Eala creative control over her brand. It gave her equity in Apple's sports division. It gave her the opportunity to build a media empire around her name. It was a deal that Nike could not match. The negotiations lasted for weeks. Nike executives flew to New York to meet with Eala's team. Apple executives flew to Manila to meet with her family. The battle was personal. It was emotional. It was historic. And in the end, Eala made the decision that would change her life forever. She chose Apple. She chose ownership. She chose control. She chose the future. The moment Nike lost its star came on a quiet Tuesday morning in August 2026. Eala's team called Nike's headquarters to deliver the news. She was signing with Apple. The deal was worth $1 trillion over 20 years. Nike's executives were stunned. They had prepared for a negotiation, not a loss. They had believed that their partnership with Eala was unbreakable. They had invested millions in her career. They had celebrated her heritage. They had built a brand around her name. But they had underestimated her ambition. They had underestimated her potential. And they had underestimated Apple's willingness to pay for it. Eala's decision was not made lightly. She had been with Nike for years. She had worn their clothes, their shoes, and their visors. She had represented them on the biggest stages in the world. She had brought them millions of dollars in revenue. But she had also grown as a person. She had become more ambitious. She had started to think about her legacy. She had started to think about what she wanted to be remembered for. And she had realized that Nike was just a sponsor. Apple was a partner. The Nike executives, who had once celebrated her rise, now had to accept that she was moving on. The brand that had dressed her for her greatest triumphs was now losing her to a tech giant. And the tennis world would never be the same. In the days that followed, Nike's stock price dropped. Analysts blamed the loss of Eala. The brand had failed to recognize her value. And now they were paying the price. The tennis world was left wondering, could Nike have done more to keep her? Could they have offered her more money, more control, more ownership? The answer was unclear. But one thing was certain. Nike had lost the biggest rising star in tennis, and they would never get her back. The moment the news broke, social media exploded. The hashtag #EalaApple trended worldwide within hours. Fans were furious. They flooded Nike's social media accounts with angry comments, demanding answers. "How could you let Alex Eala go?" one fan wrote. "She is the biggest draw in women's tennis. She sells out stadiums. She inspires millions. And you let her walk away." Another fan posted, "Nike just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Alex Eala is the future. Apple just stole her." The Filipino community was particularly outraged. They saw Nike's loss as a betrayal not just of Eala, but of an entire nation. "Alex Eala is our pride," One fan wrote. She is our hope. And you let her go for a tech company? Shame on you, Nike. The backlash was so intense that Nike was forced to issue a statement, but it did little to calm the storm. We are disappointed that Eala has chosen to leave Nike, a Nike spokesperson said. We have enjoyed a successful partnership with her and wish her the best in her future endeavors. But the backlash was not just directed at Nike. Some fans questioned Eala's decision. Why would she leave Nike? One fan wrote. She had everything with them. She was the face of their tennis division. She was going to be the next Serena Williams. Why would she throw that away? Others defended her. She's building a business, one fan wrote. She's thinking about her future. She's not just a tennis player. She's a businesswoman. And she's making the smartest decision of her life. The social media firestorm was a testament to the power of the Eala effect. She had become a cultural phenomenon, and her decision to leave Nike had sparked a global conversation about the future of athlete endorsements. The tennis world was divided, but one thing was clear: Eala had made history, and the world was watching. The official announcement came on August 27, 2026, at Apple's headquarters in Cupertino, California. Eala stood on stage with Apple CEO Tim Cook, dressed in a sleek black Apple-branded outfit. The cameras flashed. The journalists leaned forward, and Eala delivered a speech that would define the next chapter of her career. I am honored to join the Apple family, Eala said. Apple has always been a brand that represents innovation, creativity, and the future, and that is exactly what I want to represent. I am not just a tennis player. I am a force for change. And with Apple, I will be able to inspire millions of people around the world. Cook praised Eala as the perfect ambassador for Apple's sports division. Alexandra Eala is not just a champion on the court, he said. She is a champion in life. She has the talent, the drive, and the vision to become one of the most influential athletes in history. And we are proud to partner with her. The announcement was met with mixed reactions. Some praised Eala for her ambition. Others criticized her for walking away from Nike. But one thing was clear: the Apple deal was a game changer. It was the most lucrative athlete endorsement in history, and it had the potential to reshape the sports industry. The announcement was broadcast live on major news networks. Millions of people watched around the world. The Filipino community, in particular, was overjoyed. They had always known that Eala was special. Now, the rest of the world was beginning to understand. The Apple deal was a symbol of her success. It was a symbol of her ambition, and it was a symbol of her future. The first product of Eala's partnership with Apple was the Apple Sports app. The app, which had been launched in 2024, was designed to provide real-time sports scores, updates, statistics, and upcoming games. By August 2026, it had expanded to 170 countries. But with Eala on board, the app was about to become a global phenomenon. Eala starred in the first Apple Sports commercial, a sleek, cinematic ad that showed her training on the court, checking her stats on her iPhone, and connecting with fans around the world. The ad was a hit. It was viewed millions of times on social media, and it marked the beginning of a new era for Apple Sports. The app, which had already been successful, was now a cultural phenomenon. Eala's fans downloaded it in droves. The app became the most downloaded sports app in the world, and Apple's investment in Eala had already paid off. The success of the Apple Sports app was a sign of things to come. Eala was not just a tennis player. She was a brand. She was a movement. And she was just getting started. The app was designed to help millions of iPhone users keep track of the upcoming FIFA World Cup. But with Eala on board, it had become much more than that. It had become a platform for her to connect with her fans, to share her journey, and to inspire millions. The Apple Sports app was the first step in a long and prosperous partnership, and it was a sign of the future of athlete endorsements. The old model was dead. The new model was here, and Eala was leading the charge. The Apple deal was not just about Eala's tennis career. It was about a new marketing model. Eala was not just a tennis player. She was a global phenomenon. She had the ability to move merchandise, sell tickets, and inspire millions. And Apple recognized that potential. The deal was structured as a 20-year partnership, with Eala serving as the face of Apple's sports division. She would star in commercials, design her own line of Apple products, and build a media empire around her name. She would also have a stake in Apple's sports division, giving her ownership and control over her brand. The deal was a sign that the sports industry was changing. Athletes were no longer just endorsers. They were partners. They were owners. And they were building empires that could outlast their careers. Eala was at the forefront of that change. She was not just a tennis player. She was a businesswoman. And she was building a legacy that would endure long after she stopped playing. The Eala effect was not just about tennis. It was about a new era of athlete empowerment. It was about ownership. It was about control. And it was about the future. The deal had implications beyond tennis. It was a sign that the tech industry was becoming a major player in the sports world. Apple was not just a tech company. It was a sports company. And it was willing to invest billions to prove it. The Eala deal was a signal to the world that the lines between sports, tech, and entertainment were blurring. And Eala was at the center of it all. Nike's reaction to the Apple deal was bitter. The brand, which had celebrated Eala's rise, now had to accept that she was moving on. The Nike executives, who had invested millions in her career, were left to wonder what went wrong. "We are disappointed that Alex Eala has chosen to leave Nike," a Nike spokesperson said in a statement. "We have enjoyed a successful partnership with her and wish her the best in her future endeavors." But behind the scenes, Nike was scrambling. They had lost their biggest rising star to a tech giant, and they were determined to make up for it. The brand immediately began courting other rising stars, offering them lucrative contracts to fill the void left by Eala's departure. But it was too late. Eala was gone, and the tennis world would never be the same. Nike had lost not just a player, but a phenomenon. They had lost the face of the future, and they would spend years trying to recover. The Nike reaction was a lesson in the importance of recognizing value. Eala had been the biggest draw in women's tennis. She had sold out stadiums. She had inspired millions, and Nike had let her go. The brand that had once been synonymous with greatness was now synonymous with missed opportunity. In the days that followed, Nike's stock price dropped. Analysts blamed the loss of Eala. The brand had failed to recognize her value, and now they were paying the price. The tennis world was left wondering, could Nike have done more to keep her? Could they have offered her more money, more control, more ownership? The answer was unclear. But one thing was certain. Nike had lost the biggest rising star in tennis, and they would never get her back. The contrast between Eala's Apple deal and the sponsorship deals of her competitors was stark. Carlos Alcaraz, the two-time Grand Slam champion and former world number one, had a sponsorship deal with Nike, but his deal was worth a fraction of Eala's. Jannik Sinner, the Australian Open champion and current world number one, also had a deal with Nike, but it was less than Eala's. Aryna Sabalenka, the four-time Grand Slam champion, had a deal with Nike as well, but none of them could match Eala's $1 trillion deal. The contrast was a stark reminder that Eala was not just a tennis player. She was a global phenomenon. She had the ability to move merchandise, sell tickets, and inspire millions. And that made her one of the most valuable athletes in the world. The Apple deal was proof of that, and it was a sign that the old order of tennis was changing. The power was shifting to the players, and Eala was leading the charge. Her competitors could only watch in awe as she signed the most lucrative deal in sports history. They could only wonder what it would be like to have that kind of control, that kind of ownership, that kind of power. The competitors' reaction was a mix of admiration and envy. Some praised Eala for her ambition. Others wondered if they could have done the same. But one thing was clear. Eala had set a new standard. She had redefined what it meant to be an athlete, and she had shown the world that the future of sports was bright. The fans' reaction to the Apple deal was immediate and emotional. Social media flooded with messages of support and pride. The hashtag #EalaApple trended worldwide. Fans from the Philippines, the United States, and around the world shared their excitement and pride. "This is incredible," one fan wrote. "Alex Eala is not just a tennis player. She is a symbol of hope for millions of Filipinos. This is proof that the world recognizes her greatness." Another fan posted, "She is the princess of the Philippines. I'm so proud to be Filipino." The Filipino community was particularly moved. They saw Eala's Apple deal as a recognition of their culture and their identity. "This is proof that the whole world is watching Alex," one fan wrote. "She is not just our pride. She is the world's pride." Another fan posted, "Alex Eala just showed the world that Filipinos can compete with the best in the world. Thank you, Alex, for making us proud." The reaction was a testament to the power of representation. Eala had shown the world that Filipinos could compete on the global stage. that Filipinos could succeed, that Filipinos could be champions, and that Filipinos could be business icons, too. The fans' reaction was also a reminder of the bond between Eala and her supporters. She had always been grateful for their support. She had always acknowledged their role in her success. And now, they were celebrating her success as if it were their own. The Apple deal was not just a victory for Eala. It was a victory for the entire Philippines. And the world was watching. The Apple Sports app, which had already been available in 80 countries, was expanded to 170 countries in August 2026. The expansion included the Philippines, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, and South Africa. The app provided real-time sports scores, updates, statistics, and upcoming games. It also allowed users to access updates in real time with live activities on their lock screen. The app was designed to help millions of iPhone users keep track of the upcoming FIFA World Cup. Apple Sports was just one part of Apple's growing sports empire. The company had also been making moves in the sports world, including a deal with the WTA and the ADP. But Eala was the centerpiece of their strategy, and her star power was already paying off. The expansion of the Apple Sports app was a sign of Apple's commitment to sports, and Eala was at the center of it all. The app, which had already been successful, was now a cultural phenomenon. Eala's fans downloaded it in droves. It became the most downloaded sports app in the world, and Apple's investment in Eala had already paid off. The global reach of the Apple Sports app was a testament to Eala's influence. She had fans all over the world, and they were eager to connect with her through the app. The expansion was a sign of things to come. Eala was not just a tennis player. She was a global icon, and her partnership with Apple was just beginning. Eala's Apple deal was a major victory for Philippine sports. For decades, the Philippines had been overlooked on the world stage. Its athletes had been told that they were too small, too poor, too insignificant to compete with the giants of the world. But Eala had changed that. She had shown that Filipinos could compete on the global stage, that Filipinos could succeed, that Filipinos could be champions. And now, she had shown that Filipinos could be business icons, too. Eala's success had inspired a new generation of Filipino athletes. They saw her as a role model, a symbol of hope, and a reminder that no dream is too big. The Philippines was proud of Eala, and the world was watching. The Eala effect on Philippine sports was profound. Tennis participation had increased. Courts were being built. Young athletes were dreaming bigger. And it was all because of Eala. The Philippine government had also taken notice. They had honored Eala with awards and recognition. They had used her as a symbol of national pride. And they had invested in sports development. The Eala effect was not just about tennis. It was about a new era of Philippine sports. And Eala was at the center of it all. Apple's decision to sign Eala was not just about her tennis. It was about her brand. Eala had something that no other athlete had, a massive, passionate, and rapidly growing global fan base. She had the Eala effect. She had the ability to sell out stadiums, move merchandise, and inspire millions. And she had the potential to become one of the most marketable athletes in the world. Apple saw that potential, and they were willing to pay for it. The deal was structured as a 20-year partnership, with Eala serving as the face of Apple's sports division. She would star in commercials, design her own line of Apple products, and build a media empire around her name. She would also have a stake in Apple's sports division, giving her ownership and control over her brand. It was a deal that Nike could not match. Apple's investment in Eala was a bet on the future, and it was a bet that was already paying off. The Apple Sports app was a success. The commercials were a hit, and Eala's star power was undeniable. The technical breakdown of the deal was a lesson in the importance of recognizing value. Apple had seen what others had missed. They had seen the potential in Eala, and they had acted on it. The deal was a testament to the power of vision, and it was a testament to the power of Eala. Eala's Apple deal was a sign of things to come. She had already achieved so much in such a short time. She had beaten Grand Slam champions. She had climbed to a career-high ranking. She had inspired millions of Filipinos around the world. And now, she had built a business empire that would outlast her tennis career. The future was bright for Eala. She had the talent, the drive, and the courage to become one of the best players in the world. And she had the personality to become one of the most beloved. She was already being compared to legends, but she was making her own path. She was not trying to be the next Michael Jordan. She was trying to be the first Eala, and that was a much more exciting prospect. The tennis world is watching. The fans are believing. And Eala is just getting started. From the cracked courts of Quezon City to the sold-out stadiums of Toronto and Cincinnati. From the cover of Forbes to the bright lights of the Apple announcement. Her journey has defied every expectation. This is not the end. This is only the beginning.